what's up, guys? Didn't see you there. Welcome to Hold My Beer. My name's Scott. Today we got a sick project. We're doing a Bluetooth speaker. It sounds pretty sweet, right? Got it right here above my computer, the volume knob. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's take a look at everything we are working with. We have our crossovers, a three-way crossover, tweeter, mid, sub, our Bluetooth amp with volume up. I've got 6 cells of the 18650 lithium-ion battery cells, a 12-volt battery monitoring system, LED power switch, power receptacle, and the same thing for the other side. So we're going to need to get on. What I want to do is I want to put the volume control with the battery and the amp right here, so I can control the volume if we're doing videos or something. And then put the speakers on the sides. So I want to get all this in one box and all this in one box. Then I'll run one speaker wire from the amp to the boxes, and then I'll split it off in the three-way. So I'm going to start wiring it up here. We'll get it all wired up, hooked up, and make sure everything's working before we build our box. Okay, so I'm going to wire up the first set of speakers. I'll show you one side, and then the other side will be exactly the same. So we've got our speaker wire. I cut it all to length. The only thing you want to consider here is it's going to need to go anywhere in the box we built to get to the crossover. So probably a little long, but at least we can test it now. Split it. Bear with me. Black's negative, clear's positive. It really doesn't matter. But just to keep it straight, one way or the other. Electrically, it doesn't make any difference, right? On the tabs, you'll see a positive and a negative. If there's no positive and negative, the big one will be positive, the little one will be negative. So we'll strip our wire. Some flux. Solder will help, huh? And prop this guy up. That's how I like to do it. And also, since we'll wire this one first, that's going to be our sub. We'll flux on the tab here. Get your hot iron. Come here. So we tinned our wires. I'll put a little glob of solder on our speaker. I think that's a technical term too, the glob on the solder. You can almost feel it melt. There it goes. So you can see we got the black on the negative, clear on the positive. That sucker's going nowhere. That's our sub. Gonna repeat this process 3 times. Get your speaker a little love. Probably breathing isn't the best fucking thing. By the way. So you see these tabs are the same size, but we've got a negative and a positive. So clear we're using for positive, correct? So get the positive terminal. Oh yeah. Come here, baby. So that dude's not going anywhere. Clean your tip. I'm by no means a soldering expert, but hopefully this will work. And last but not least, we're going to do the tweeter. Twist. Maybe. I'm going to lie to you now. Oh, no, I'm just going to burn myself instead. You can see that, can't you? You set this up better so I can work and you can see. Alright. So positive to the capacitor. I believe it's a capacitor. Come on. And the negative side's gonna have a regular terminal. That's not going anywhere. Alright, so here's our crossover. You can see it's labeled. Obviously, tweeter, mid, and in, positive, negatives. We're just going to strip the wires. I'll show you a couple of these. There's not a whole lot to see here. Alright, so we'll start with the tweeter. Excuse me. I hate these cutters. And maybe about 3/8. I'm not judging. Ew, I shouldn't judge myself. That was terrible. Alright, so it's just a friction lock, nothing big. So the first one's negative. Try and get gravity to help with the lock. Easier to stick the wire in there. It doesn't have to be the prettiest thing ever because we're gonna have to redo it later when black negative. I know you're sick of me hearing you say that. Oh man. Heard a lot of people say keep it simple, stupid, and I'm guessing stupid is they're referring to me. Alright, so we got our speakers wired into our three-way. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and we'll get into the other components. Okay, so the speakers are all wired up. This is our Bluetooth amp. Comes with a nice little case you put on it. It's got a heat sink in here, power adapter. We're going to use 12 volts, volume knob, lamb little screwdriver, and a little cover. Oh, sorry, cover. So I'll put it together and then I'll show you what we got. Alright, so I assembled the Bluetooth amp. Nothing to it. Just got little standoffs there, screws, volume knob. And you have the outputs to our speakers. And it's 5 to, what does it say in there? 5 to 27 volts. I'm building a 12 volt battery, but we'll get that all done. So I'll set this to the side. We'll build our battery, and then we can test this thing out. Okay, let's just take a quick look at what we're going to need. I got 18650 battery cells, 6 of them. We have these little holders. I guess you don't have to use them, but they're pretty handy. I've got a 12 volt BMS battery monitoring system. That's all we're going to need. I will wire. I got these nickel plated terminals to help tie the batteries together. There's a lot of videos on how to do this. A lot of people use spot welders. I don't have one. I'm going to solder it. Yeah, it's not good to get them hot, but that's the way it's going to go down. Which we'll pop back in here a few times. So I assembled my battery holders. Nothing like putting Legos together. If you can't put Legos together, then I don't know, you got another problem. So the perfectly flat side is the negative. You see the little tab on there is positive. So we'll go 2 positives down, 2 positives up, 2 positives down. Put the lid on. There you go. Done deal. Now we'll start soldering. Alright, so I got a little flux in my batteries. Not a lot. The soldering iron's hotter than the witches, you know what. We don't want to get them hot, but we're going to have to. So a hot iron seems to have less time on there. You don't get it hot enough, it's not going to stick. So I've got this nickel plated strips that work really good. People solder these on, it seems to be the trick, but I don't have one of those. So I'm doing it the old fashioned way. So first we'll get the two positives. Get a little more flux. This takes like 3 hands. This is how I like to do it. Sucker's gonna get hotter now. That sucker's not going anywhere. So those are the two positives. We'll have the two negatives, and then attach these and these. I'm gonna work on the top because it's right here. Okay, so we have the two positives here. On the opposite side, we're going to do the two negatives. Obviously, we don't want to short this thing out, right? So let's get some solder on a... Alright, again, your two positives on this side, your two negatives on the other opposite of it. And we'll just do the last 4. Alright, so there we go. We'll glue the BMS on now. Let me get the glue gun heated up. Nothing special here. First, pretty simple. Find where you want to glue it on. Glue it on right here, I think. Just hot glue this sucker on there. Let that dude dry and then we'll wire it up. Not a lot. These little terminals will be quick because they'll pop right off. You get them hot, they're just soldered on there too. All right, so on the end here we have P power positive, power negative. This is our power in and out of the batteries. I'm gonna cut these a little long because we're gonna be jacking around with them. Same routine though. We're gonna tin them. Just gonna split them. Strippers, give them a little strip. Obviously negative to negative, positive to positive. Obviously you're not going to want to get anything across these two, so a little glue on there if you want. Alright, so there's our connections to whatever we're powering. So now we have battery plus, battery 2, battery negative, battery 1. Battery plus is going to be the positive side, the two that are just connected together. Okay, so this is our power out to the battery. And it's tough to see, sorry guys. But you can see the two are two negative terminals. That's going to go to battery negative. Or two positive that are attached, that's going to go to battery positive. I almost forgot our power switch. You can see on here there's a positive and a negative. That's for the LED. It's an LED power switch. And the other two will just kill the whatever it's hooked up to, or give it a juice, or take it away. I'm gonna solder this guy up, and then we'll give it a try. Alright, so for our LED, this is where we need to pay attention. God, the light's terrible in here. Alright. So that's the negative. Oh, you know what I want to do first? I'm going to shrink over these guys. Slide on some heat shrink. Alright, so back to soldering. Alright, so that's my negative. This goes a lot quicker, everything's smaller, heats up quicker. Just use the shrink to cover up the terminals. Alright, so the other two are for the switch. So all we're doing is allowing electrons to flow or not allowing electrons to flow. So polarity here really doesn't make a two shits of difference. And shrink the last two on there. You should probably mark the two that are for the LED because they matter, the polarity, but I don't have anything to mark them with right now, so I'm not gonna. But let's get this thing set up. Okay, so I'm gonna try to all the hookups. This red wire here is gonna represent our power bus, power, positive, whatever you want to call it, and black's ground. So I'm gonna hook things up one at a time. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory, but this is going to be power for our amp. So, red to red. Black to black. And we'll hook that up. Oh, so that's not going to work. God damn it. Just want to keep them separated, right? This will be our charging receptacle, and it'll allow us to run it off power supply. Excuse me. This is all temporary hookups just to make sure the thing works. Okay, so this is our power switch with the LED. The LED side will hook up red and black, just like normal. Okay, now let's introduce our battery. So the negative side of our battery is going to go to the negative bus, if you will. One side of our LED switch that is actually the switch will go to our positive terminal, or our positive bus. The other side is going to go to our battery lead, our positive battery lead. Obviously, we don't want these to touch. Here's the power switch. Power. There's the Bluetooth board powering up. We got the wires coming off our speakers to our crossover. This is the input from our Bluetooth amp board. Comes to our amp. Same thing with the other side. Coming off to our amp board. Positive or battery. Start connection. Alright, and here's our switch. Turn it off. And we should be able to run this off a power supply too. Sorry guys, I know this is shaky. So we plug in the power supply. We got our, and we're up and running again. Make sure it plays. Oh, sorry. There we go. diagram to make this easier. We'll look at it again when we build the boxes and put them in. But that's it for the wiring step. We know everything works, we can move on. The last thing you want to do is get yourself a piece of pen and paper. And you have to build a box, right, for this. I'm going to do it in one speaker box with the crossovers, and the electronics in the other. So you just need to do what's going to work for you. You need to account for the material you're using, the sizes, but I'll show you what I do, and then you guys can do what you want to do. But I'll show you after when we start building. So I've got my fancy plans here. I know, really ridiculous. But I determined I wanted to go 7 inches wide. The manufactured edge is what, 7 1/4 on a 1x8? Close enough for me. And I want to go 16 high. But there's a little crack right here I didn't notice. So I'm going to cut that off real quick. I got lazy and just grabbed another board. So I'm going to keep my height at 16 inches for both my boxes. So I'm going to cut out 2 16 pieces. 16, yeah. Alright, so I cut my 2 boards, 1x8s again, so it's giving me 7 1/4, 16 inches long. I'm going to give them a couple passes through the planer to try to clean them up because it's cheap wood, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now we need to start planning out our holes for our speakers. We want to take into consideration that we're going to have 1 by all the way around this box. So just for me, because I'm a big dummy, remind myself that this is going to be our supports in the back. So we don't want our holes to be there. For obvious reasons. To make a lousy hole. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So we'll put our speakers in here. I'll get the speakers and we'll lay it out. Alright, so this is our basic speaker layout. We should be okay like this. I think it'll fit. The tweeter can sit over a little bit because it's going to sit on top. The sub and the mid are going to sit below and behind. So we'll lay it out and punch some holes, and then we'll get in with the hole saw and do the measuring. Okay. So you see the line I made down the center? That's just the center of the board, and all the crosses are where I want the center of my speakers to be. So I'm going to back this up a little bit. Okay. So here's our sub. We need to figure out our hole size. So about 370 would be about perfect. Let's see what I got for hole saws. So we said 370 is about right. The next, this is 3.5. It's 350. The next one I have is like 396, which should be too big. Usually when I use these cheap hole saws that I got, it comes a little bigger, so I'm going to go with this, and we'll see what happens in the end. Hopefully, no sanding involved. We already have our pilot holes. Make sure we're drilling our sub holes on both. Turn on. So I'm measuring 353. After we're going to sand it, so it's going to get a little bit bigger, but you know, see what it looks like, right? Real quick. Yeah. So I think it looks decent. If you can see that. After sanding and stuff, I think we'll be okay. Okay, so I got both sub holes drilled in. We're going to end up routing it, and we got a lot of sanding to do, obviously. But let's move on to the mids. Okay, so let's measure the mids, see what kind of hole size we want. So, oh man, 294 would be perfect, but we'll never get perfect. So let's see what I got. All right, so 295 was gonna be perfect for us. This guy measures 29. Well, it's just about 295. So it might be a little bit big, but the next one I got down is 250. I think it'll be way too small. So let's try this for the mids. $299. It's gonna be a little big after sanding, but it's closer than the other one is. I'll bring it back after I cut the next one. Okay, we got our sub holes, mid holes, Now it's tweeter time. So our tweeters have this little flange. All right, it sits over it. So we're gonna screw in from this way, so it's a lot more forgiving. So we just need to hold to get through, get the backside through. So 280. So that 3-inch hole saw will work perfect. Okay guys, I officially get the Darwin Award today. I just unchucked the 3-inch hole saw that I had on there, took it all apart, measured it and put it back on. So I am the idiot for the day. But let's punch these tweeter holes. Sorry about that. The hole saws I got are inexpensive. The drill became loose, but it's nice to have the variety, so let's keep cutting. Okay, bring it back. Okay, so our tweeter holes are in. But we don't need to do anything with those because they're going to be covered up with the trim. I'm going to route the other 2 holes for the subs and the mids. I'm going to route first because it's less stuff to sand and everybody hates sanding. Here we go. Oh, maybe I should plug it in, huh? How many times I say that? So still pretty rough. Everybody's least favorite thing to do now. I'm gonna try to clean them up a little bit before I start gluing them up. But let's keep going. It's a cheap ass wood I got cracked, so I'm gluing it back up and I'm gonna let it dry. Spent a couple bucks on some better wood, you'd be in better shape, huh? But I'm going to cut the sides and the tops and get ready to glue those up. Okay, so I want it to be 5 3/4 deep for my awesome blueprints. And the front board's approximately 3/4, right, because we planed it. But I'm just going to set my backstop to 5 inches and we'll rip these guys down. Or cut these bunch of staples. Cheap wood. Alright, we got our 2 boards for the sides. Just run them through the planer, clean them up a little bit. So I got the 2 pieces I'm going to use for the sides, cleaned up just a little bit, and then I'm going to measure them out and take them to the chops. Alright, so I'm going to measure my first one. Then I'm using it as my template for the rest of them. We need 4 of them. Got my 4 side pieces. Let's go here on the top and the bottom. Okay, so here's our front piece, 2 side pieces. See what's left. $5 3/4. So our top will be 5 3/4. All right, so we need 5 3/4. Okay, so the width of the top and the bottom are going to be 5 3/4, but they're going to be the same depth as the sides, right? So I'm going to use the sides marks the depth of the tops. I'll use the same technique, just marking one and then moving on. Simple as that. Alright, so we need 4 of these guys, and same technique, use the first one to mark the rest of them. Alright, so they're still really rough. I'm going to clean them up a little bit, and then I think I'm going to pilot the holes for the speakers, because it's going to be harder when the box is built. And then we'll glue them together, we'll leave them overnight, go from there. This is a good excuse for getting a new sander. I'm going to try this. It's a pain in the rear end. The cheap wood's not worth it. Alright, so I got the speaker holes roughed out. So it'll fit pretty good. So what I want to do now, before I put the sides on, is I want to pilot the holes, because it'll be a hell of a lot easier right now. Something you like. Center the sucker up. Now what I've done before is I've actually had the screws go crooked and go through the hole, so don't do that. A really long bit would be nice, but this is what I got. I just don't want the wood to split, right? Yeah, you can see my drill's hitting right there. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mark it and drill it. If I can find my pencil. Oh, that feels pretty nice, guys. I'm really happy with that. But I think I'm going to want my speaker wire to be at a 45 like that, so I can run it right up. That's how I'm going to do my holes too. See if I can remember later, right? Do the mids. The tweeters, remember, are going to sit on the face, so we can drill those later. Do the same thing for speaker wire. Hole's a little bigger on this one, so we're going to try to be, oh god, a little more careful. Damn it. Alright. Put our speakers to the sides, then we'll get all jacked up. Now we can drill a nice straight hole. You see how close we are to the speaker hole. So we want to be really careful. Obviously we don't want to drill all the way through. Center it up. That crack there. We don't want to split that. Alright, holes are piloted. Alright. Gonna start gluing up the box here. Alright, I'll repeat the process for the other one. Alright, so don't be disappointed in me, but I have one pretty side that I'm gonna clamp this sucker up, just so I can keep going tomorrow. Probably better let the frame dry and clean it up, but I have zero patience. So we're gonna keep going. We're gonna line up as close as we can, and then we'll clean her up. What's that? What the shit is it? Try that again, huh? Alright, so that's the first box roughed up. Let that dry overnight and we'll start cleaning it up. I'll glue up the other one. Okay. Let's unclamp this guy and see what we got. Alright, so there you go. Now we'll just start cleaning it up. So I'm sanding to 220. I think I'm just gonna go to 400. I'll do the last 320 and 400 by hand, and go from there. All right, guys, I'm done sanding. I'm not done sanding because it looks good. I'm done sanding because I'm sick of sanding. And I guess the next thing I would say is I would never, ever recommend anybody finishing something that isn't actually finished. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this thing because we're gonna have to put the speakers in. So I'll just do a little stand. You can watch for a sec. You don't need this whole thing, but this is how I like to do it. Lose that crack. That's not good. All right, so I'll continue and then catch back up with you for some clear cutting. All right, so I just finished sanding them. You can see some of the weathering from the wood, and I think that looks cool, but I think the trade-off is, you can see it through there, on the side. The trade-off is you're working with a soft wood, so that's kind of difficult all in itself, and it's old and it's a little bit rotten. So, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm $20 worth of wood for this whole project, which is nothing, but you got to deal with it too, so. I don't know, I guess it's a give and take, right? The electronics or anything aren't going to be cheap, so I guess you could get cheap speakers. I don't know. It's just something to consider. But if you had a nice hardwood, it would sand easier, it would finish easier. I wouldn't put any stain on it either, you know? So, I don't know. It's a give and take, something to think about. But let this dry for a little bit, and then we will start shooting clear coat. I think I'm going to use a, what are we going to do? We're going to do polyurethane on this guy, see what it looks like. Just rattle can. It's cold, so we'll have to take our time, but I don't know. Get back to you. Alright, so nothing special, just going to start clear coating it. It's cold, so I'm going to take my time. Thin coats. Lots of them. So you're happy. Working on mounting the speakers. I'm going to pop the tweeter in once I find it. Try that again with the tweeter. It's kind of a tight fit with the capacitor on there, but it goes. I don't know if I like it, we still need to pilot these holes. Barely. We need to block in the mids, wire them up, and we need to figure out where we're going to stick the 3-ways. But after that, we got speaker boxes. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to block in the mid speaker. I punched a hole in before I glued it in this time instead of being an idiot like usual, so I can run the wires through because I think I'm going to put the crossover up here. I've cut this one 3/4 of an inch shorter than the depth of the box because we're going to cover it up. Obviously, this will be being a support, but nothing special here. Just glue her in, let her dry. Tell you're a moron, they can't get the glue out, then all of a sudden you become very special. Jeez Louise, man. Alright, we'll let that dry and then we'll build a cover. Sorry guys, I had the volume off. So I just made that little plate to block in the mid. And just screw this guy in. We want it to be removable in case we need to get back in there. I'm not too worried, nobody's gonna see this thing, right? So just get it in, get her done. Alright, well you get the idea, right? I'll find some more. Okay, so I got the mid blocked in. Now we need to consider what we're going to do with our crossover. And I think in looking at this, we've got a bunch of space up here, so I think I'm going to glue it in here. That way we have access to the wires still. And I think that'll work pretty good. Let's wire this thing up. We'll stick it in. Alright folks, it's official. I have screwed the pooch. I forgot about the wire that's going to come from our crossover to our Bluetooth amp. This is all in and sealed, so I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to punch a hole through here. And I got to punch a hole through the side. This will be the left-hand speaker, so it'll be on this side. Closest to our, I don't know what you call it. I guess control panel is going to be. So this one I'm just going to hog out. I got a 90 drill, but still it doesn't fit great. And I'm going to try to make the hole here pretty because that'll be seen later, and then we'll fill it in with hot glue. Wish me luck. .90 drills are a lifesaver sometimes. Okay, this hole in the side I'm going to try to make it a little bit prettier because you'll see it, and obviously I should have done it before I stained it, but don't be as dumb as me, which shouldn't be hard for you. Alright, let's start wiring for credit. Let you watch the first couple, so we're just going to put it, it's going to be sitting in the box like that. So just enough slack to get it in there. And I'll let you watch a couple, and then we will, I'll break over to mount the three-way. There's no reason to watch all of them. You watched me do it earlier, so I think you've got it more than under control. Alright, so let's start with the tweeters. That should be plenty of slack. Negative, positive. Should have kept everything straight throughout this process, I hope. Easier if that little tabs gravity help there. Alright, I'll do the mid and the tweeter, and then I'll, excuse me, the mid and the sub. I'll bring it back for the last wire. Okay, now we need to put in the wire for, that's going to go to our Bluetooth amp. I'm not going to give as much slack as the other ones because I might need it all. Come on, baby. Alright. So I think we're going to be okay. It's going to be the same hookup as the others. No big deal, right? Alright, I'm going to warm up the hot glue gun and we'll glue that sucker in there. Okay, let's get that crossover in. A little extra glue. If I got an extension cord, this would be 1,000 times easier. It's ultimate lazy. Get it around before it dries, right? Jesus, come on, man. Terrible. I'm going to pull all the slack out of this one guy. I want to fill this hole. Alright, we'll do the other one. This next step's up to you. You can do it with zip ties. I'm just going to clamp the wires a little bit. Just a nice touch right at the end. Keep everything secure. You want it to be sitting on a shelf. You get some more hot glue. I'm running out. All right, I'm gonna let that dry, and I'll do the other one. And then the next thing we're gonna do is, did I kick that out? Oh, you still see it. We're going to put some stiffeners in here, stiffeners, supports, whatever you want to call it, to mount our back to, which we haven't made yet. But okay, so we're going to need something to screw into the back on. So I'm going to use this just as our template before we line this sucker up. You know what, I forgot to cut, I got to cut this part out. My bad, I'll be right back. Alright, I cut them. Should make it a little easier. I'm using some of my fancy clamp tape. You guys must be cracking up. And some wood glue, obviously. And I can line it up with this corner piece, the support in the middle, the one we used to block out the mid. And then I'll just grab a piece of 1x, make the other side. And like a true professional. Alright, I think you guys get the idea. I'll keep going. Alright, this is the segment I like to call learning from my mistakes. So first, we forgot to cut out for the center support. And we put the wire here that's going to go to our Bluetooth amp. You could drop it lower if you wanted to get this all the way across. That's a mistake. The crossover is not going to allow us to put a stiffener here, which I don't think is that big of a deal because we'll screw it in on 3 sides. And put a piece of foam in here to try to deaden the sound from coming out the back. Other than that, I think it's going to work out okay. I'll have to actually let this dry, and then we'll fill in some of the gaps as best we can, put in some foam, and make it back, screw it on, and the boxes will be done. Alright, so both boxes are drying. Waiting for the backs. There's one thing I wanted to mention about the mistakes that I've been making. You're welcome. That felt good. I never thought I'd be able to say that before. So the next thing is going to be, I'm calling it the control panel. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's going to have our battery, it's going to have our Bluetooth amp, power switch, and receptacle for charging. And we're going to put in a little box. So maybe we'll get started with that while this dries. So I made a mark here. That's where my 1x is going to sit on the side. This is my Bluetooth amp. So we need to locate where the volume knob is going to be. And I think I just set it on a couple of pieces of 1x, so I can do that later when we build it up to center it up. But this will make our mark. So this is going to be a lot easier before we glue it together. So let's make that mark. So now let me give a piece of wood to get a better visualization of what I'm talking about here. I know this doesn't make any sense, not even to me. Right, so that's how it'll be. So we need to make sure we have enough room in there for it. So that'll work. It'll give us a little extra space. We'll mark the top. Oh man, we'll try to mark the top. We'll mark the side. I don't know why I said it like that. I sound like a crazy person. Alright, put that back. See, we're just going to kind of center this dude up. Get pretty close. Alright, so we'll do volume. So that's our volume knob. And we need a power switch. And I want to put the power switch, I think so, volume knob will be right there. The power switch I want to put on the front because it has LED power, so I can tell if it's on or not. Like if I leave it on, the battery won't die. So I think if I just go right next to it, maybe in line with the, I think I'm going to go in line with the volume knob. And let's call it 1.25 inches. There's a lot of science went into that. Okay, let me check out the drill and we'll start drilling. Good. Clean up. Alright, so these are just going to be pilot holes for now. Alright, so let's do our volume switch. That was mine first. It'd help if I knew where my calipers were. Come here. Alright, so for the volume switch, I'm talking slow because I can't find it. Okay, so what do we got here? Let's see. We are measuring on the threads. 0.42? Yeah, 0.42. Alright, I'm gonna go find something good. This is terrible. Okay, so 7/16. 4/3. It's like it's meant to be, huh? Wow. I'm so impressed. Maybe I could have done better in school, huh? That didn't feel good. My mom would have been so proud. Okay, so I want to cut from the front side. because we're not so worried about blowing out the back. It's going to be covered up. A little bit of chip's okay. Now let's figure out our volume knob size. That we can do pretty easily, huh? Bada bing, bada bang. All right, turn you off and be back in this. I'm just using the volume knob that came with that. Sorry, this is probably freaky for a caliper just to jump into your face like that. So the volume knob is 5.6. So the idea here is where I'm going to cut it out so I can stick the volume knob in there. So it'd be like this, right? So it's going to be pretty tight, so I'm going to make a little bit bigger of a hole. So 5.6. Let's see what we got. Oh, you don't need a beer for this. Okay guys, first mistake of the panel. I should have, you got to grab a forcer bit with the small pilot hole and done this. Now this is going to get a little crazy, but that's what we do around here, right? Oh, you're welcome for the mistake. Yeah, it sucks. I'm going plan B here. So I grabbed a piece of scrap. I'm going to try to do like a two-step hole. I have no idea if this is going to work, but... And then the last thing I want to do before we start gluing this together is we need to put our power adapter in here too. So if that's going to be right there, battery, be right there. It's going to be pretty tight, huh? Well, this will be up here like this. Oop. I want to put it on the bottom. Let me go grab the battery. Okay, I grabbed the battery. Alright, so I think I'm going to put it right here. Oh, we can just shove the battery in when we're done. Alright, so how I've been working this is, first you gotta get rid of all the safety crap. My first job here. Grab your utility knife. Get rid of this sucker. This is going to be another two-hole system. That's why we want to do it now, because we're not going to be able to drill it when it's put together. So we need to get the insulator in there, and that's going to be 4-1. Alright, so that'll give us relief for the insulation. Now we need to measure the receptacle itself. That is going to be, drum roll please. I think I'm going crazy, guys. I'm not even drinking. I mean, I need a drink. It's hard to see through the camera. 2.7? 2.7. We're doing it. We're doing 5/16. Don't tell my mom. She'd be disappointed. I'm gonna drill back the other way. What's nice about our pilot hole. So note to self: do a small pilot hole. Small pilot hole first. It's a little chewed up, but so we'll just glue that guy in there like that later. And the only other thing we needed to do, I think that's it. We can do everything else. When it's glued together. Start working on gluing it up. I swear I didn't forget about you, but I started gluing it up without you. So technically I did forget about you. All I do is throw some glue on the bottom. I'm trying this new little clamping system I just came up with in my head. I'm sure it'll work out terribly. But if it does work, you use less clamps. If you don't have a lot of clamps, I'd say get more, but the old days, like, what do you want for Christmas? Clamps. Can't have too many clamps. Alright, so I'm going to try to apply pressure evenly across the entire top. I think I might need 3 hands for this, but it's okay. Let's see if we can do it. There's no way this is going to work. Push it in. And here we go. I think it's going to work pretty good, guys. I'm actually pleasantly pleased with that little concept there. Alright, well, this is just shit wood, so we're going to clean it up anyway. There's our front piece. With our hole for the volume knob in there, a lot of good jazz. Put some glue on. Will help it hold together, I think. I'm a mathematician, but type on 3, baby. Good stuff. Using this little clamping technique on the top here allows me to put way too many clamps on the front. Just like everything else I build. That's okay. Probably hand plan that corner out pretty easy. I should just use good wood. It'd be way easier. I think it looks cool. I mean, it's like distress is what I'm calling it, right? Because looks like crap. Alright, let me pop it off the tripod. Make sure that good there. So we got the one bar on top, holding the sides and top on, and all 4 on the front face. So we'll have our power knob, power button here. My volume knob here, and then I'm going to mount some bowls here later, but I'm going to mount it under a shelf on my computer so I can adjust, turn the volume down. If I'm editing or something, video. Yeah, I know. Believe it or not, I edited it. Okay, let's get this thing on clamp, see what we got. Oh, Jesus. So, got some cleanup to do, no big deal, and we'll get it cleaned up, routed, stained, and we'll start putting it together. It'll work. Just gonna clean this up quick and dirty like usual. Okay, we've got it roughed out. Let's route it so it'll match the speaker boxes. Probably should clamp this thing down, but see what happens. Oh, forgot the sides. Now it's time to do everybody's favorite thing, sanding. Sanding, making some headway. This is a bitch to sand though, I didn't think about it, but it is what it is now. It's done, right? So just keep going. So I got this little sanding mandrel, but all I have is a Scotch-Brite pad. It fits in there. I need to get some sandpaper. I'm not super thrilled with my cutout for the volume knob, but I ran out of patience, so it is what it is. Alright. Yeah. Don't do that. Jesus. Let that dry for a little bit and we'll come back. Clear coat. Okay, so while our control panel dries, we can put the back on here. of boxes. 5 3/4. 14 and a half. Alright, so I marked on the back of the box where I want to put my screws because we don't have supports everywhere. Alright. Okay, I just did some quick and dirty countersinking and I'm going to screw this guy on. Okay, the back's screwed on. I'll do the other one. And then we can hopefully finish the control panel today and this will be a done deal. We'll give her the old test. Alright. Put this sucker in the oven because I had no patience, but it's kind of wet. Don't tell anybody. Let's start assembling this guy. Put in the charging receptacle first. I think I'm going to try to glue it in and then clean it up later. Never a good plan. Get it where you want it. Now we wait. Burn my finger a little bit. Oh yeah. Alright, well you don't need to watch this. Okay, I'm going to put in my power switch. Remember to mark your LED. I'm going to glue from the back if I need to, but it's pretty tight. Yeah, sugar. And plan B. I highly don't recommend doing this. This is my jeweler hammer. Okay. That doesn't need any glue. Oh, and mark your LED wire. It's like a broken record, don't I? Alright, let's see what's next. We'll get rid of this hammer. Alright, now I'm gonna put the block that I'm gonna rest my amp on in. Put the glue on downstairs. So I'm gonna put the block in like that. Then it'll sit in there. That. Alright, so before I make anything permanent, I'm going to give it one last test. So, let's do this. We got our right speaker. Do I have cutters? I better have cutters. This will be a really bad video, huh? It's probably a good time to fast forward too because we've done this once already, right? Okay, so our battery. And this is our power switch. This is our LED, which I'm going to keep it marked because we're going to disconnect it and solder it all together, but just mark it lower. Alright. So this is our power switch. I'm going to interrupt, break up the battery, if you will. The switch, when it's off, it'll disconnect the battery, right, from the circuit. And when it's on, it'll allow it to connect. So this is going to go with all of our positives. Power to the amp, positive. And our LED. And do the same thing with our negatives. I bet you think I get a nickel for every time I say negative, huh? Or positive? Excuse me, guys. I just ate some garlic chicken pizza, something or other. It's fighting back a little bit, I think. Alright, battery, negative. Plug in our get in there, sucker. Amp. Alright. Show anything now. Got lights. Oh. And I probably should have this ready to go, but I didn't. Sorry, guys. Connected. Some music. Hopefully it sounds good, right? Let's do... What should we do? We're gonna get a commercial. Sorry, guys. That's our volume knob. Bluetooth. Show you I got the speakers. All right, now let's turn off our battery and let's test it with the charger. Plug it in. Power connected. All right, so we know now that it works. It works on the DC charger, or power supply, if you will, or it works on the battery. If you wire it like this, if you want to use the battery, you got to turn it on, and if you want to charge the battery, you got to turn it on. This is just disconnecting the battery. If any power is hooked up to that LED that we hooked up, you're gonna get the blue light on. So if you're plugged in, or if the battery's on, which is our little indicator light. So I'm pretty happy right now. Let's make this thing permanent. So I'm going to leave some little pigtails, because once I glue this thing in, it's going to be impossible to wire later. I just marked the right side because I'm not going to be able to see it. I'm just going to cut them off. We'll put connectors on. Alright, I'm going to go in the garage and drill a hole. Well, yeah, I probably should. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm just going to glue my amp in real quick while we're sitting here. Alright, I'll leave that alone. Go get something to drill some holes. Be right back. Okay, gonna glue the battery in here. Once again, nothing special. Got a nice little spot for it. Try to push it in there pretty good so we can have some room to tuck this wiring in. But load her up some glue. Shove her in. Apparently hot glue is hot. Alright, I'll get my soldering iron warmed up and we'll make these connections permanent. Alright, I'm gonna start soldering this up. I'm gonna get some clean cuts on here. I guess watch if you want to watch. If you don't want to watch, fast forward. It's the same thing I did earlier. I'm just gonna do it permanent now. Let's start with the battery. We want to be able to tuck all this in there. So this is our LED. We're going to keep that separate for now. And that's not our LED, that's our power switch, excuse me. This is our LED. Making a freaking mess. It's pretty thick. It takes a little while to get it flowing. I turn up the heat a little bit. Now let's shrink this guy up so we don't have any shorts later. Pinch off the end. Burn your fingers, so it's fun. Okay. So now we need to do our, this is LED. Alright, so this is our switch that'll disconnect the battery. So let's get a fresh cut on that too. Maybe I should use the battery connection instead, huh? Jesus. Scary sometimes. And this is going to go to our power switch. We can do those two dudes together. This will be a lot easier because there's a lot less wire. Same routine. Solder. A lot of time looking for things. Like tape measure, pencil. It's a little bit ridiculous, huh? Maybe this dude. And then there's the power wires. throw something in the trash can. Novel idea, huh? The house commander would flip out. So don't let her see this, anybody. Come on, baby. Alright. One last time with the shrink. Sure it'll turn on. And make sure it'll turn on with the power supply. It does. Okay. So there you go. Let's get it mounted up there and then we'll finish up the wiring. Okay, so I drilled some holes in my shelf, or a hole in my shelf to put these speaker wires through so I can just wire them up later. Because there's no way in heck the box opens so easy. Gotta get it where you want it. Looks pretty good. So I routed my speaker wire. It's ugly. I'll change it later, but finish this up. It's coming up to where the box is. Control panel, what the hell are we calling it these days? So I put some terminals on there and go from there. I want to put some connectors on here so we can move it around if later if need to be without having to get into some major rework. Knowing I'm going to screw something up in the future, or if you're moving, I guess, or anything, you want to keep it, right? Sucker. I'm trying to make it idiot-proof here. Not right to left, but positive and negative. Oh, positive and negative. Negative, negative, negative. That must mean I get some nickels. Alright. Speaker side. So the negative, we've got the female, so we're going to put the male on the negative. On the other side. It sucked to screw it up here at the end, right? Well, it sounded so good. And we've got the male on the positive, so we've got the female on the positive on this one. Double check. Simple connection. Simple connection. And I'll do the other side. Alright, made all my connections. connected. That's good, right? Let's try something new. It's a little more bass in it. About commercial.
Grab Taco Bell's Nachos Party Pack whenever you're dressing up to stay in or witnessing a miracle.
I forgot the volume out.
Go big with delicious nachos topped with all your favorites. Nachos Party Pack.
Alright. Oh, hell. That's a problem. Alright, well, I'm gonna solve that. I'll be back. Hey guys, so, video's huge. Sorry, man. Having issues with it. But, what I did to get the volume down is I just ground it down so it's short so it fit in there. But, it works. Oops.
I'm back at it midnight on Broadway and Myrtle.